In Unicode, Braille is represented in a block called Braille Patterns U+2800, U+28FF. The block contains all 256 possible patterns of an 8-dot Braille cell, thereby including the complete 6-dot cell range. Symbols, not letters. In Unicode, Braille characters are not defined as belonging to any other script, but are defined as the Braille script. That is, the patterns are available as symbols, without connection to an alphabetic letter or a number. This is because the same symbol can be used in multiple scripts, e.g. as a Latin character, a Vietnamese character, a Chinese character and a digit. For example, although U+2813, Braille pattern dots 125 represents the letter H in basic Braille, its Unicode definition makes no reference to H, and it is just as valid representing Korean TT, or Japanese Ri. For this reason, a dot pattern is not a letter. Unicode declares that, strictly speaking, Braille patterns are symbols, not letters. The general property is so symbol, other, not low letter, other. Beyond that declaration, however, Braille is treated as a script in multiple places. E.g., the character property script for the 256 Braille code points as ISO 15924 Bray for Braille. This way, searching users and programs are led to the right place. Identifying, naming and ordering. The coding is in accordance with ISO TR 11548-1 communication aids for blind persons. Unicode uses the standard dot numbering 1 to 8. Historically, only the 6-dot cell was used in Braille. The lower 2 dots were added later, which explains the irregular numbering 1, 2, 3, 7 in the left column and 4, 5, 6, 8 in the right column. Where dots 7 and 8 are not raised, there is no distinction between 6-dot and 8-dot definitions. The Unicode name of a specific pattern mentions the raised dots. U+2813, Braille pattern dots 125 has dots 1, 2 and 5 raised. By exception, the 0-dot raised pattern is named U+2800, Braille pattern blank. In the 8-dot cell each dot individually can be raised or not. That creates 28 equals 256 different patterns. By mapping each of the 8 dots to a bit in a byte in a low-endian order, and by defining 0, 1 for not raised, raised per bit, every specific pattern generates an identifying binary number. So the pattern with dots 1, 2, 5 raised would yield 000100112, equivalent to 13, 16 or 19, 10. The mapping can also be computed by adding together the hexadecimal values, seen at right, of the dots raised. So the pattern with dots 1, 2, 5 raised would yield 116 plus 216 plus 1016 equals 1316. Whether computed directly in hexadecimal, or indirectly via binary, the result is added to 280,016, the offset for the Braille pattern's Unicode block. There is no regular mapping to the Braille ASCII numbering. Colloquial names. The Unicode names of Braille dot patterns are not the same as what many English speakers would use colloquially. In particular, Unicode names use the word dots in the plural even when only one dot is listed, thus Unicode says Braille pattern dots 5 when most English users of Braille would simply say, Braille dot 5, or just dot 5. Some English users of Braille additionally use the word and when listing only 2 dots. Thus Braille pattern dots 45 would be spoken as Braille dots 4 and 5. The word and is not always used when listing many dots, however. Chart. Braille was added to the Unicode standard in September, 1999 with the release of version 3.0. When using punching, the filled black dots are to be punched. The Unicode block for Braille is U+2800. U+28FF. Font differences. When showing Braille graphically in printed instruction manuals, it can be useful to indicate the dots that are not punched, especially if a single Braille cell of only one or two punched dots is shown out of context. In this case, it might otherwise be difficult to judge the vertical alignment of the dots and tell the difference between, say, dots 2 and 4 versus dots 3 and 5. The current Unicode charts, and some fonts, use empty circles to indicate dots that are not punched. This does not always render very clearly. If the circle outlines are printed heavily, then it can be difficult to tell at a glance whether the dot is filled in or not. The Braille package for LaTeX and several printed publications such as the printed manual for the new International Braille Music Code show unpunched dots as very small dots, much smaller than the filled-in dots, rather than circles, and this tends to print better. Some Braille fonts do not indicate unpunched dots at all. Additionally, some Linux Braille fonts, e.g. New Unifont and the Deja Vu fonts, use small squares instead of small circles to indicate dots. History. The following Unicode-related documents record the purpose and process of defining specific characters in the Braille Patterns block.